Like you said, I'm Alfred Namaasa. I'm a district councillor in Mbale, that is a district in eastern Uganda. I have, it is a political office, so I'm a community leader where I have served at that level for 2 terms. And like rightly you said, I'm actually elevating my position from a district councillor to a district chairperson. One thing I can say is that I'm very passionate about science communication, and being a community leader, I really interface with people at, on a daily basis. People, mostly farmers, because myself I'm a farmer as well, and therefore the challenges that farmers face in my community, actually I also face them. Actually, at one time I was telling some people while at Cornell that I'm one of the farmers who had actually abandoned growing of corn or maize because of the army worm, and had resorted to planting eucalyptus trees. So you can see the kind of dilemma that I was in just because of the army worm. So, but this evening, we just needed to know about our situations. I'll begin by giving up the situation in Uganda as far as COVID is concerned. As of today, we have 2,362 cases in Uganda. And of these, our doctors have really helped us. And as of now, we have 1,324 recoveries, meaning that we still have about 1,116. Those are still, that are still in our hospitals. And the unfortunate part is that we have now also registered death to a tune of 22 people in the country. And as I talk now, Patricia, our government is really thinking of maybe perhaps going for a second lockdown, because one, the population seems to be defiant of the directives of the Minister of Health and those of the president. For example, when you go downtown in Kampala, that is our capital city, you will see people who are freely moving about without masks, while others are not really taking into consideration issues to do with the sanitizing and hand washing. And above all, the social distancing is also a very, very big problem, especially when you go in these downtown areas. So really, because of this defiance of the population, there is already talk that probably when the president talks in one of his addresses, you never know, there could be more strict measures that could be put in place. But this defiance of the population really comes about, of course, one of it, the biggest problem is ignorance. You know, some people even have a belief that, this COVID here, our bodies are resistant. Others think that it is maybe not for Africans. There are so many myths that the community has that surround COVID-19. But
Thank you, Alfred, but I would like to cut you short. That is a good update you have given us. 2,000 cases, and you said how many deaths so far?
22.
22 people dead. And of course, it's not acceptable, even though it is one person who has died. It's not acceptable. We are not here to compare a number of deaths with other countries or other continents. But I would like to direct this conversation towards agriculture. In the rural area where you stay and the people that you represent, how are people dealing with COVID-19 in terms of agriculture? Is food getting to the market? at the right time? What are the challenges in the rural areas?
One, Patricia, you should know that despite COVID-19, life has to continue, and life cannot continue without food. So when you look at generally, before I zero down to to where the community where I am, but government made sure that among the measures they put up was that they were not supposed to have any locking down any areas that provide food. For example, the farmers were left to continue with their daily business of cultivating crops. Then, of course, the food, the market stalls where they were having where food is sold was also left to the public because they know that people must survive at the end of the day. So, Patricia, as a matter of fact, in Uganda, farmers went about their businesses because most of our farmland is deep in the villages where things to do with the social distancing really do not matter a lot because the farmers are in their farmland. So
okay, looks like Alfred, we are losing you. We shall get back to you. Thank you very much for sharing that. So as you're saying, when it comes to farmers in the rural areas of Africa, Uganda specifically,
crops, and eventually not be sincere to myself to say that we have not had food production. So that is an area that we have had. But of course, there have been challenges. The challenges that...
Hello, Alfred. We keep losing you. Thank you very much.
We have been having.
So Alfred, we shall get back to you when your audio stabilizes. Thank you for sharing that situation with Ugandan farmers, where you tell us correctly that when it comes to farmers, the issues of social distancing do not matter because in their work, they are naturally socially distanced. Yeah, because they are working on huge expanses of land and it's just a few of them. So for this particular demography, social distancing and things like that are not affecting them. That is good to know. I would like now to move on to Evans. Evans, please give me a signal that you can hear me. Oh, nice.
Yeah, I can hear you now. I can hear you.
Yes. Now, Evans, good thing you're a farmer yourself. And you're also a youth leader. Please tell us how farmers in Ghana or in your specific community are handling this COVID-19 challenge.
Well, thank you very much, Patricia, and all our audience listening to us. Like you said, I'm speaking from Ghana, and then I am a maize farmer. I also do some little livestock, which specifically into goods production. COVID came in at a time when I would say that Ghana's agricultural sector was picking up. In terms of our growth, agricultural growth was going up substantially as compared to previous years. And it came at a point when as far as very much energized into our production, in the sense that the government of Ghana had launched the Planting for Food and Jobs policy, which was getting more youth like me and other graduates who are competed into farming. They also have a fertilizer subsidy for farmers in especially rural communities and across the country. So there was a lot of farming activities ongoing. There were a lot of production ongoing in the country. Now, COVID came in, and then it's really destabilized the whole system. Because at points, we farmers didn't know what was really something. The term social distancing came to be a cliche around. And as farmers living in rural communities, there was that need. We work sometimes, most of the time, we work in communal forms, and so the issues with COVID-19 so much farmers to work because first of all, we had a lockdown. So the whole issue about lockdown was mostly within Accra, but we had the impact being felt in farming communities in other regions and also in the rural communities. So despite the fact that it was in Ghana, it was in Accra, the transverse effect was taking place in the farming community. So many farmers would rather prefer to stay home than even go to work because the lockdown impact was being felt around. Again, if issues of social distancing, farmers would have to go to places to go and get, we would have to go to get seeds, we would have to get fertilizer, we would have to do other stuff. COVID-19 actually came and destabilized the whole system. So the urge to produce was not so much there. But one thing that helped us in Ghana or in our situation was that because the program had been launched about 2 years before COVID-19 set in, there had been enough production or enough food in the system. So even at the time of the lockdown, there was enough to feed our people. As of then, as of years before, we were importing maize into Ghana. But as of by the time COVID set in, our maize capacity, production capacity in the country was high, that we were rather exporting to the neighboring countries. So yes, COVID came in. I mean, it's destabilized our work. When it comes to the livestock sector too, we realize that most of our livestock or our farmers, personally, I buy goats from Burkina Faso and also, which I also brought from Niger and Mali and some of the Sahelian countries. But you realize that because of the lockdown, many of these countries lock their borders. And when it happens that way, how are we able to get our livestock in? So from livestock farmers to crop farmers, when it comes to the coastal areas of Ghana, our fishermen had to stay home because of the lockdown. And also the fear of coronavirus.
We can see you, Veronica. I'll cue you to.
So actually, in Ghana, coronavirus took a very strong effect on agricultural activities here. And then, I mean, in terms of production, in terms of the fear and the stigmatization people had and all those kind of stuff. So the impact has been huge.
Thank you.
And I think we are still.
I would like to cut you short. That's a very detailed. What can I call it? That's very detailed. The information that you've given us concerning Ghana and COVID-19. So what you're trying to portray is that farmers are really they are part of the community. What affects other people affects them. But it's also good what you pointed out, that Ghana was almost food secure. And that is very good to hear coming from an African country. But now I would like to sort of change direction from challenges to lessons learned. Because history has showed us that pandemics are always going to be with us, okay? Maybe not at the magnitude of COVID-19, but there are challenges that are going to come, challenges of climate change, challenges of health pandemics, and things like this. I would like for you to tell us some of the lessons that you have learned as farmers or farmer leaders, that should a pandemic like this arise, maybe not at a huge magnitude as this, but should there be a health pandemic, how should we in agriculture handle this? And I would like to start with Alfred. Any lessons that you have learned? Something we have done well that you think our government or individual people can do going forward, or where we have fallen short and you think we would have acted better? So over to you, Alfred.
Patricia, can you hear me?
Yes.
I can't hear you.
I can hear you.
I can't hear you, Patricia. Can you hear me?
Yes. I can hear you.
Okay, fine. Definitely, there are many lessons that we have learned. And like rightly you said, pandemics all over the world, eventually people have to stay with them. And if we are to stay with them, it means that there are some lessons that we must have learned from this one that we think that in the future we should really be prepared. Because, for example, like farmers, our biggest challenge has been that most of our farmers were not saving, were not storing enough food. People were taking it for granted that after all, once I have food now, and I'm sure that I'm going to have more food next season, so there's no need to save. But this has now given us a culture that farmers must be actually told to begin saving food. It's very, very important. Then the other one, of course, is the post-harvest handling. Post-harvest handling, basically, it goes hand in hand with the storage, but of course, storage alone goes hand in with some other things, like of course, you need stores, you need.
Alfred, we are losing. Sorry. Alfred, please, we are losing you. Let me ask our panelists to please switch off your videos. Let us all use only audio because we have challenges of low bandwidth. Yes, thank you very much. There is someone from Zambia who is supposed to be presenting on behalf of Veronica, Rhoda Mkuku. Rhoda, I cannot find you. Please tell me what name you are using so that I can invite you and you can speak on behalf of Zambia. So let me move to Evans. Evans, are you there? Evans, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm here, Patricia. Yeah, I can hear you clearly, Patricia. I'm here.
Okay, so please tell us some of the lessons learned. What has Ghana done right and that you are very proud of in terms of handling this pandemic in relation to agriculture and feeding the population? And where do you think your government has fallen short and it can do better going forward?
Well, thank you very much, Patricia. So, like I said from the beginning, I think Ghana, even though it was like, if probably it seems we had a prophetic idea of COVID-19 coming some way, somehow, the government of the day had been very active in terms of preparation. There was, I think the government's purpose was trying to boost agriculture, but COVID-19 came and gave us a good reason for what was being done in the country. Before COVID came, which I will mostly make reference to, we had a national buffer stock. We have a national buffer stock where, like a national kind of a silo where we keep and store food, so that in case of emergency, national food crisis, we can be able to support our citizens with. Besides this, the present government launched something we call the One District, One Warehouse program, where within every district there was a warehouse being built for farmers, so that farmers, probably especially where I farm, I grow my maize, after harvesting, maybe I would want to store my maize for some period of 3 months or 2 months to be able to gain extra prices on them before I sell, so that once there is a lot of maize in the market, when I take my maize to the market, I get less price for that. So we have the One District, One factory, One District, One warehouse within my district that I'm doing my farming. So after harvest, I only take my produce there and it's stored securely for me. Besides it, the government was also doing the one village, one dam, where within the northern part of the country, where we have usually is a kind of a semi-arid area or the Saharan area, where usually there's less water. So within each of these villages, there were dams that were built. What happened is that these things really, the impact of these policies was really felt when COVID came, because it had prepared us for such a crisis in the future. During the period, we realized that Alliance for Science Ghana realized that the national buffer stock needed, we sent out a communique or a statement out, which was prompting the Ministry of Agriculture to come up with an emergency COVID preparedness plan for agriculture in the country. And within a matter of, I think, 2-3 days, within the same week, the Ministry of Agriculture responded to it. They came out with a statement issuing, although it wasn't so clear to us how, it wasn't so detailed, I think they made an attempt to explain and give the assurance to Ghanaians that there was enough food to feed the country, and that farmers could go on with their farming activities whilst they are being provided with the necessary tools and gadgets that would protect them from contracting the virus. So in this sense, I think the government did very well in terms of supply of fertilizer, the one district, one warehouse program, the national buffer stock, and all those kind of stuff. We also came to realize that one lesson that our government picked up from this was also inclusive of agtechs, in the sense that boosting up agricultural technology such as greenhouses, using also, we had a few hydroponics and aeroponic structures going up in the country. Recently, the president of the country launched one of the largest greenhouse in West Africa in the country. And some of these structures or these programs are supposed to, the vision of the president when he spoke at this was that, so that in future, in case of any other pandemic, or if coronavirus should resurface itself in another form of mutation in future, we can be on a very good standing as a country in terms of food security, in terms of making sure that there's enough to feed our country and possibly even to feed our neighboring countries. On the other side, I think there were
Evans, I would like to cut you short. You have given us a very elaborate and very exciting update. Ghana is that boy or girl in class. While all of us are complaining, teachers in this school are horrible, they don't come on time, some of them don't show up, bad food, we don't have scholastic materials. You know, that student is still excelling, and he or she is showing up to school early in the morning, smart, their uniform is well ironed. You know, Ghana is making Africa look bad. You're showing us that it's possible to have policies in place and for those policies to actually have an effect to people on the ground. What you tell us is quite exciting. Maybe we should talk about Ghana's shining example in a different webinar. I don't know which other countries have the one receipt, one warehouse policy. Did you call it that? I think that is being championed by USAID and a number of African governments, but to see that it's actually having an impact, that is quite exciting, what you're telling us about Ghana. And this is information that we shall share with other people on the continent through our different platforms on the Alliance for Science, so that we know that other countries in Africa are actually managing this well. Pandemics come and they find them when they're a little bit prepared. So thank you, Evans, for that update. Veronica, can you hear us? We have not had anything from Zambia. I would like Rhoda Mukuka to please put up your hand, raise your hand. I will be able to see you and give you permission to speak on behalf of Zambia. Veronica, are you there?
She actually says that she has failed to connect.
Okay, and it looks like Rhoda
has also.
Yeah, so maybe we shall hear from Zambia another time. If there is anyone from Zambia who has information and you would like to share, please raise your hand and we shall give you that opportunity. But I would like to now go to Alfred. What we have heard from Evans, and maybe what you have read from other African countries. What are your final remarks going forward? Pandemics or let us call it preparedness in African agriculture. What is the one or two messages that you can give our policymakers or, you know, development partners when it comes to dealing with pandemics and ensuring that people have food?
Thank you very much, Patricia. First of all, what we must all know is that pandemics are here to stay. So we must only learn to see how to stay with them. Of course, pandemics, most of the time, they don't knock on the door. They come anytime. And that's why I feel that African governments or even African farmers must take post-harvesting very, very seriously. So that whatever is really produced is not consumed there and then. We must have some food in our silos. We must have some food with our farmers. When I was a young man, we used to have what we called granaries. Granaries were actually local food stores for our farmers. So post-handling must be really taken into account. Then the other thing is that, Patricia, climate change in the world is real. And you know that even before these pandemics came, we already had this problem. And this problem is affecting food production. How is it affecting food production in Africa? We have begun having prolonged drought. We have begun having new pests and diseases. I was giving you an example of how myself had stopped growing maize or corn because of the African armyworm, you see. But now, I know that for sure our scientists, our researchers have had remedies or solutions to some of these climate change disadvantages to the farmers. For example, the issue of biotechnology has been, most countries in Africa have neglected this technology, and yet this technology can be so helpful to the farmers. So going forward, we think that we must listen to the scientists. Let's listen to the researchers, and they tell us what can we do, because recently when we had this pandemic, you know, the whole world was quiet and we were all looking at the scientists. Just imagine we had such a catastrophe in agriculture. So we cannot do without food, as a matter of fact.
Okay, thank you, Alfred. That is a very impassioned call to action. So if I may just reiterate what you have told us is post-harvest handling of food in agriculture is important. We need to stop living from hand to mouth. Let us put in place policies that can help our farmers to store for that rainy day, because it is coming, like COVID-19 has showed us. And also, I like how you take us to the beginning of the food chain. Food does not begin in the market or the supermarket. It starts from a garden in a field somewhere. And the beginning of food is seed. So I like how you remind us that we should not neglect quality seed. We should not neglect improved crop varieties. If they're coming in the form of varieties that have been improved using biotechnology, or what we may call GMO seeds, please, policymakers, farmers, let us adopt these seeds, because they will help farmers to deal with other challenges that they are facing, such as climate change, the ever increasing diseases, like you started by mentioning the fall armyworm, which also pushed you out of growing maize. And after we have dealt with the seed or the input part of it, let us, when farmers finally harvest this food, we should put in place policies like Evans shared with us, simple policies like one receipt, one warehouse, where farmers are incentivized not to sell their produce immediately, but keep it for future use. So Alfred, thank you very much. Those were your parting words. From AfS Live, we want to wish you good luck in the campaigns. We shall be excited to have our very own leading the district, having an impassioned and powerful voice for agriculture like you in the corridors of power will do Africa very well. So good luck, Alfred, in the upcoming elections, and please let us know when you win. We are rooting for you. We are cheering you on. So Evans, over to you. Your parting remarks, and if I may request that we try to be as succinct and as brief as possible. So Evans, I'm already very impressed with Ghana. I feel horrible. You're making us look bad, but you're also showing us that, you know, these things, it's important. It's possible. Yeah. For Africa to be organized. It doesn't take rocket science. So Evans from Ghana, please, your concluding remarks.
All right. Well, thank you very much once again. And I would like to say that take a few words of our president. And he always says that leadership is about choices. And is expedient on our leaders of our various countries to either choose to be food secured or not. Is lying on them to make a choice whether to have malnourished children or not. Is for them to, is their choice or is their leaders' choice to make sure the agricultural sector is boosting or not. So when we realize that usually from, like you said, epidemics and pandemics are going to always be with us. How are we going to prepare ourselves? When there's no political will in our various countries, there cannot be any directives as to what policies to govern the countries. So for me, and from the examples of our country currently, where we have enough to eat, currently as we sit in our country, there's enough to eat in our country, there's enough to export to our neighboring countries. I would urge other African leaders to also take the same cue to make sure that the very little things, these are really not rocket science, like the very little things that we can do, like one village, one dam for places where they can't get water, building warehouses in villages where they can't have access to store their food. These are very basic needs of fast. Even if not exporting, we can be able to save enough to feed us for that.
Evans, looks like we have lost you, but we've lost you on a good note. Thank you very much, Alfred and Evans, for joining. Veronica, we are sorry we missed you, but as we urge African governments to work on some simple policies to ensure that there is food stored for a rainy day, I think the issue of network connectivity is also becoming very apparent. Yes, we would like to hear from more African voices, but connectivity is always an issue. So as you lobby people making policies in agriculture, talk about internet connectivity. We need African farmers and African leaders like you to connect with the world. So from us here at AfS Live, we say thank you very much to our 2018 fellows. We shall be back here next week Same time, same place. You can check our website to find out what we shall be talking about. Evans, we are going to talk about this Ghana example, and we see how other African countries can emulate Ghana. So to our panelists and those of you who've joined us through Zoom and on Facebook, we say goodbye and thank you. Have a good day.